Good morning, this is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. PsychicTarot.ca, book your tarot reading and unlock your spiritual journey. And the Pepper Master, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. Well, good morning and hello, kids and cubs, and welcome to season 5 and episode I actually do not know because I'm a little frazzled this morning. So I will say 828, I will guess, of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. Oh, Canada. Today, recording day is Friday, January 9th, 2026, and it is a very, very, very great day here at the Beaver Lodge. And thank you to the damn fam who lets me know that they can hear me loud and clear here, that the mic is indeed working today, because the last time we tried this from the Ottawa Beaver Lodge, that didn't work all that well. So glad it's working fine. Wow. It's been a morning here. We're going to have a relatively short show for you, unfortunately, because of the late start. Yours truly has a dentist appointment in about an hour and 40 minutes. So it's going to be a quick and dirty today. Hopefully I might be able to do something a little later, or maybe collaborate with Mr. Grizzly, given that it is Friday and he usually does a roundup of the week. So maybe I'll be able to join him with that and complete a couple of other things at that point. But yeah, it's been an attempt. There's been a lot of hair pulling here at the Ottawa Beaver Lodge, trying to get this started. But everything, I knew it was something that I was not, how would I put, I knew it was something that I was able to solve. It just required a lot of steps. Let's put it that way. And certain things just weren't cooperating as they should. I had to do several things once or twice, sometimes 3 times, in order to get them to stick. So just like a little tiny bit of frustration, but yeah, just a bit. Yes, with the intro, I'm seeing that in the chat. That might have been my fault because, how would I put it? Again, we're working through the new system, so I'm not exactly sure if everything goes, but Mr. Grizzly had set something up for the whole opening credit sequence to all auto switch from various stages, because before we used to do all of that manually. And because when I have the microphone piece on, I can't actually hear when I put the thing into the jack. It removes all sound, which is why I can't use it if I'm doing an interview with someone, for example, if I'm here, because then I can't hear what the people are telling me. It's kind of hard to have a conversation. So I kickstarted it manually because I didn't see it happening after the countdown had finished for 30 seconds. So that may be why certain things from the intro changed a little bit today. But we're here, you're here, let's make some stuff happen. A big thank you goes to our podcast founding sponsors, the Peppermaster, the Mystery Mystery from Corvid Moon Publishing, and PsychicTarot.ca. Kids and Cubs, how's your mental health today? Um, Pretty good. Pretty good. I see Miss Shadika. Did Douglas say he's going to the dentist? I swear he was the only person I know that goes on a regular basis. No wonder his smile is so pretty. Oh my God, thank you so much. I also had braces when I was a kid. So I got laughed at a lot. Actually, they wanted to do the whole thing with the headgear, and I drew the line there. Fortunately, for some reason, my jaw was extremely malleable, and it didn't take as long to fix my teeth as they thought it would be, and the headgear wasn't all that necessary at the end of the day. But yes, thank you. I do like to, uh, uh, well, like I said, oral hygiene and all that kind of stuff. I like to try to make sure that I'm taking care of my health, and dental care, of course, very, very important. There you go. Uh, let's see. The clip or microphone isn't so much better than your laptop microphone. Thank you, says Kit PNC Bio. Uh, okay. Um, Normally is much better. Sorry. Okay, thank you. Yeah, it is better than the laptop microphone. The laptop's getting a little old. Fortunately, Kits and Cubs, whatever we did to fix it after I dropped water on it appears to have worked. And thank you to all of you who gave me some advice about that. We weren't able to do the alcohol thing that someone had told me about, but we were able to open it up. And because this one, fortunately, uh, the screen can fold back so it can make sort of like a tent form. We were able to put it that way and expose it to air and have all the water drip down. So it seems to be working again, which is kind of nice because it's nice to not have to buy a whole new laptop again, particularly at this time of year. All right. Let's see. We're going to go through a few things. I was trying to set up a way to try and get you clips today, Kits and Cubs here from the Ottawa Beaver Lodge. I actually have another phone here and a laptop and was trying to find a way to tie in. But it seems that on Android, because I'm using my main phone to have the best quality and the best streaming, because when I try to stream from the laptop, it gets a little jerky here for some reason. Um, the phone does not allow a share screen option. I've looked all over for it, and I cannot seem to find it. So the only way I would be able to do that, give you a share screen, is if I was broadcasting from the laptop again, and then having the share screen function on that, and then using the phone to show the clips. But then the rest of the show where you would see me would be jerky and freezing and all that kind of stuff. So I opted for no clips, which is kind of bad for today because you really needed one to understand the first part of the show, because we're going to talk a little bit about the United States and everything that has transpired very rapidly, I should say, after let's call it what it is, the assassination of Renee Nicole Good in Minnesota. And we have since found out, I think it was in Portland, that two other people were shot that I know of at the moment, and nobody was fatally wounded, but were shot in Portland. So they're shooting citizens now in the United States. That's a thing. And they're not accidents. And as we mentioned yesterday, we were what is the word? I'm trying to think of the words to be using for this, because it's shocking and yet not surprising. It is jaw-droppingly astounding and yet expected. It is totally disconcerting and bewildering, and yet there's resignation that that's just the way things are now. Yeah, Kit Grace, the World Cup, the Olympics, Are people going to want to come to the United States? Made me have the thought yesterday. Sure would be a interesting storyline if during the World Cup this year, events in Canada and Mexico sell out, but they don't sell out in the United States. I mean, things are different in the United States now than they were when they last had the World Cup, which was in 1984, which is kind of not. Is it 1984 or 1994? Sorry. Which, interestingly enough, I was in the United States at the same time. I was in New York City in 1994 for the Gay Games. I was competing in swimming there, and at the same time, it was a big time in New York because Barbra Streisand had a whole tour going on, and she has stage fright. She gets very, very nervous, so she doesn't do live concerts all that often. So that was a big deal. And then the World Cup was going on, which was also a big deal. It was the first time that the World Cup had ever been held in the United States, and there were matches in New York, so there was a lot of buzz going on. But at that time, soccer wasn't really, or football wasn't really a big thing in the United States. For the American public, it was very much for immigrant populations that had moved there, and they were the ones who filled the stands. Now there is Major League Soccer, and there is a fan base within the United States, but some people are wondering, we can fully expect, for example, that the United States would probably place some ice controls at the entrance of the gates for World Cup events, which means will anybody who is various shades of brown and might be mistaken for a Venezuelan or Mexican or Cuban, Colombian, El Salvadorian, be searched, be asked for their papers, asked for their identity, asked to prove their identity, all that kind of stuff at the entrance. And if that's the case, well, then that's a lot of people who are not going to attend. So it's really weird. It's really weird what's going on down there, kits and cubs. We saw on the first days, or on the first day immediately, we saw Kristi Noem. And one of the things that we noted on the show yesterday is that she was standing in front of a microphone, Daniel Smith style, weaving a new narrative, just lying as a matter of course, gaslighting, and very calmly asserting that Renee Good. Oh no, not Renee. Is that? See, I'm terrible. See, I have in my head Renee Good as her name, and that might actually be right. Yes, Renee Nicole Good, because I saw a clip on the news where there was a vigil, and they brought vigil candles. One of the ice guys, one of the ice holes, was intimidating someone and kicking away the vigil candles just to be an ice hole, right? And the sign said, "She was good. She was good." Kristi Noem was out there saying in front of the cameras, even though we could all see the clip of what happened and we all saw it from many angles. We saw that there was a car. I mean, she was parked or stopped in her vehicle, against the flow of traffic, but there was another car that had just sort of zoomed out in front of her. So, probably letting it pass. We can't tell from the clip there whether she was involved in some type of action to obstruct or whether or not she was just, waiting for another vehicle to pass by so she could go. And this was spun as she was trying to obstruct. She's part of this whole cabal of lefties who are trying to obstruct law enforcement and all of that kind of stuff. uh, an activist, and then when she was approached, rather than comply, she tried to mow down the ICE officers with her car. We don't actually see any evidence of that. There was an officer that was standing a little bit in front of the car in kind of a way, but that goes against all officer training. From what I've been told, officers are told never to stand directly in front of or behind a vehicle for these types of things, because in the battle versus a couple of tons of metal and glass and a human body, we know who wins that fight. So they're never advised to do that. So the person shouldn't have been there if they were there at all. And then we notice that the first shots are taking place when the person is nowhere near the front or the back of the vehicle, the first shot, and then there are two more shots as the vehicle is pulling away. There seemed to be no big move, because I mean, if the person really wanted to mow down, they really would have hit the pedal as they were going backwards and forwards a lot. And as far as we can tell, it could have been just someone trying to. It could have been someone in the middle of a 3-point turn as somebody else was like coming around and then stopped, right? But then she's a domestic terrorist and she's clearly trying to mow them down, and we will prosecute them to the fullest extent of the law and all of that. And nobody that has eyes and ears and is still somewhat connected to reality, tethered to reality in some way, sees that happening. And then everybody else jumps in. Everybody else jumps in with that same narrative, with more superlatives and more superlatives and more breathlessness. And more, we need to defend the nation, we need to protect the blue, and all that kind of stuff. Again, irony from the group of people who pardoned pretty much everyone that did the complete opposite of back the blue on January 6th, about like a year ago, a year and a day ago to the day that happened. So yesterday, that seemed to culminate with J.D. Vance at a press availability, I guess, standing in front of a podium. And I won't say a complete loss of mastery of himself, because this clearly was a piece of political performance art, and he was very committed to the bit. But basically, stating as emphatically and as he possibly could that she was indeed very much a terrorist. Absolutely, very much indeed a terrorist. And that berating the media for reporting anything other than the party line. And again, the typical thing, you should be ashamed of yourself and all that kind of stuff. But yeah. And of course, those police, that ICE agent, there's 3 of them, only one drew a weapon, only one shot. So the other 2 didn't seem very allegedly fearful for their lives. And again, you're also not supposed to shoot at a car that is pulling away, because, bad things might happen to innocent bystanders or to property. And in this case, of course, other vehicles were destroyed as a result of this. Fortunately, nobody else was injured, but someone's dead. Someone's dead. Someone lost their lives for committing the cardinal sin, allegedly, it would seem, of dropping their kid off at school. They weren't even there for that. uh, it's there was an article that came out before I heard of the JD Vance thing. I don't know if in what order things happened, whether this article came first and then JD Vance came out after. But when I read it, uh, my first thought was, oh, the shit is going to hit the fan. Because the person, Renee Nicole Good, who died, who lost her life, she is a mother of three. She wasn't an activist. She was in the vicinity because she had just dropped off her 6-year-old off at school. And she was a devoted Christian and a stay-at-home mom. That's not good. That is not who, even if they want to be targeting Americans, this is not the people that they want to target. So because she is female, white, blonde, Christian, a mother, and may have only been there to drop their kids off at school, you can see how they might be in trouble. And therefore, this reaction from JD Vance and crew to really amp it up and like, absolutely, she's a terrorist. How can you think anything else? How can you watch this video and see anything else but a woman trying to mow down some ICE agents? And of course, this is an attempt to gaslight, right? To get us to sort of like, well, did we see actually what we saw? Yeah, Kit Linda. Next, we'll hear she has secret tattoos showing that she was MS-13. This here is according to the dailydigest.com. On the morning of Wednesday, January 7, Renee Nicole Good, a 37-year-old American citizen, was fatally shot by an agent from Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, in southern Minneapolis. The shot was fired at her car during a federal operation and ended the life of a woman who had just dropped off her young son at school and who had only begun living in the city for a year. Since then, her name has spread throughout the country. For the administration of President Donald Trump, Good posed a threat to ICE officers. For her family, neighbors, and several local leaders, she was a devoted mother, award-winning poet, and legal observer caught in an intervention that ended in tragedy. These contrasting perspectives have reopened the nationwide debate on the federal use of force. But who was Renee Nicole Good? The American was the mother of 3 children, a writer, and an amateur guitarist. According to BBC News, she was born in Colorado, spent most of her life there, and relocated to Minnesota in 2025 after living in Kansas City. On social media, she described herself as a poet and writer and a wife and mom, and wrote that she was simply experiencing Minneapolis. From a young age, her academic journey was influenced by literature. She studied creative writing at Old Dominion University, graduating in 2020 and receiving the Academy of American Poets Prize that same year. One of her professors, Kent Wascom, recalled on CNN that Good was recognized for writing about other people, others' lives, other circumstances, even while she was pregnant and working. On a personal level, her life had been shaped by significant loss. Her second husband, Tim Macklin, passed away in 2023, leaving their child, now 6 years old, without a father. She's also had 2 more children, aged 15 and 12, from her first marriage. Oh my God. These kids lost a father, passed away in 2023, and now lost their mother. Not even a full 3 years later. Those poor kids. Oh my God. Okay. Sorry, I am welling up. On the morning of the shooting that claimed her life, according to her ex-husband, as reported by Associated Press and cited by CNN, Good had just dropped off her youngest son at school when she encountered ICE officials. Several state authorities later stated that she was present as a legal observer, a voluntary role monitoring police actions. However, the federal government offered a different version. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem stated that Good had been, quote, harassing and obstructing the officers' work for hours, blocking them with her car and shouting. According to Noem, she attempted to run down an officer using her vehicle as a weapon, prompting the agent to fire out of fear for their safety. President Donald Trump supported this account and described her as a professional agitator. All of this without even an iota of an investigation having been conducted yet. But they know. Does that remind you of someone in Canada? That remind you of someone in Canada who, as soon as an event like this happens, is ready to rush to the microphone to be judge, jury, and executioner before an investigation even takes place. Remember that car accident in Buffalo? All it took was one report from Fox News for Rerun Polyev to run to the mics and claims that it was terrorism and start laying the groundwork for why is it that Justin Trudeau is not protecting us. And then turns out that story fell apart. Or when Pierre Polyev said on the microphone and with cameras rolling that the RCMP was somewhat despicable, because there were certainly things that Justin Trudeau did that certainly warranted him being sent to jail. Judge, jury, executioner. And there had been a couple of investigations that did not support what Pierre Polyev is saying, but he said it anyway. And then the other day, just rushing in as fast as he could to congratulate President Donald Trump on what he did in Venezuela. And then I guess somewhere along the way, he received a call from Danielle Smith smacking him upside the head and said, what the hell are you doing? Do you not remember you represent a riding in Alberta? And now all of a sudden he's all concerned about what's going to happen about the oil. Right? Our international oil competitors or something like that he referred them to, which is the United States. They compete with us. But weren't you the one who's congratulating the guy? Down with socialism, long live freedom. Long live freedom. Sorry. Well, that tweet sure didn't age well, eh? Socialism is still there. It's still the same regime. There's no freedom. The government is letting out, apparently, some people, or is going to let out some people as a goodwill gesture, but while they're arresting a whole bunch of others for protesting. And the freedom didn't come, Pierre, because business likes stability. And if there was another election, there might not be a government that was willing to just hand over 30 to 50 million barrels to Donald Trump. Now, it sounds like a lot on its surface, but it's not. It's about enough oil for 2.5 days to supply the United States probably about $2.5 billion worth. But Trump took the oil. And if he wants more oil coming, it seems that the United States' position here is not to go and invade the country and take the country, but just to make sure that all oil is somewhat embargoed, or that they're monitoring the comings and goings, and then just take the money. People are saying that we're essentially in a new era of international piracy, that they're behaving like pirates. This is stuff that we could expect from Pierre Polyev here, standing in front of a mic and blaming in a group of lefties. Doug Ford did it just the other day. right? There's a case about Ontario Place that's going to the Supreme Court, and he's blaming lefties of this and that. And it's like, okay, we need to have a new rule where unless you are able to specifically identify one or two specific lefties who have done the things that you claim in these particular instances, just this broad general accusation of lefties for everything that the right doesn't like is not good enough anymore. Not good enough anymore. Continue. This explanation of what it is that um, Renee Nicole Good is alleged by Kristi Noem and Donald Trump and everybody else on that side of the just say it happened and we'll take care of the rest. This explanation was strongly challenged by local leaders. The mayor of Minneapolis, Jacob Frey, stated after reviewing the incident video that the officers' actions were reckless and that the federal narrative did not match what was seen in the footage. Governor Tim Walz, who is not going to be running for a third term because, think he's had enough, pledged that his administration would seek accountability and justice for the victim. In fact, the mayor, Jacob Frey, basically told ICE to get the fuck out of Minneapolis. Pardon the language, it's a quote. Following Good's death, her neighborhood in southern Minneapolis was filled with flowers, candles, and messages. Neighbors told CNN about a sweet family and a woman who greeted others, cared for her children, and became part of the community. Simply a mother, not a terrorist. The public response was swift. A fundraising campaign for her family, which aimed for $50,000, surpassed $500,000 in just 15 hours, according to the BBC. This figure reflected the emotional impact of the case and the rejection of the official narrative from Washington. The scene of the shooting is located less than a mile from where George Floyd was killed in 2020, where we were gaslighted to believe stuff there too. Right? Because apparently in the United States now, a policeman just saying, I feared for my life, whether anything at all justifies it, or proves that that is the case, justifies taking life. And all you need to do if you want to take a life is immobilize someone to the ground or neutralize them and then just start yelling, stop resisting, as you choke them out. That's life in the United States. No wonder a lot of the stands at the World Juniors in Minnesota were empty. They didn't get the tourists. That is one of the things that prompted people to start thinking about attendance at World Cup and at the Olympics. The scene of the shooting was located less than a mile from where George Floyd was killed in 2020, a fact many residents highlight as part of an ongoing collective memory. During vigils, some chanted Good's name, others protested the ICE presence in the city. According to her mother, Donna Ganger, in remarks collected by BBC News, Renee Nicole Good was, quote, one of the kindest people I have ever known. Someone truly compassionate, loving, and affectionate. This intimate portrait now contrasts with the official label of threat. Between these two images remains an unresolved question. How did a poet and mother end up shot dead on a Minneapolis street? And of course, the feds have determined that this is going to be a strictly FBI investigation, no local law enforcement involved. Apparently, they have no jurisdiction. The better to cover up the crime, my child. She was good. And the fact that she was good is going to make it such that they have to ramp up that rhetoric. And the fact that she was good and that everybody could see it is going to have to make them ramp up the narrative. And the fact that everybody can see that what they claim has happened is not what happened is going to make them even more forceful and fervent and devout in spreading the word, the gospel, according to Noam. And then it culminated again, as I mentioned, with Vice President J.D. Vance. I can't imagine what it must have been to be a reporter in that room at that moment, but I'm also wondering why it is that 2 or 3 reporters didn't just get up and say, "Hey, what the hell are you doing here?" They just let him talk, and it got broadcast. According to Sarah Davis, I'm not sure from which media, The Hill in the United States, Vice President Vance condemned public scrutiny as, quote, gaslighting. Accuse the others of that which you are doing or about to do. After an immigration and customs enforcement officer shot and killed a woman in Minneapolis on Wednesday. The shooting, which was captured from multiple angles on video and shared across social media, has elicited mixed reactions, with the Department of Homeland Security maintaining that the officer was acting in self-defense. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and other Democrats, however, have called the explanation propaganda. Vance defended the ICE officer in a post on the social platform X early on Thursday in response to a user who described herself as a former defense attorney. "This is preposterous," he wrote, outlining several issues he had with the user's analysis. "This guy was doing his job," the vice president continued later. "She tried to stop him from doing his job. When he approached her car, she tried to hit him." A tragedy? Absolutely, Vance asked, but a tragedy that falls on this woman and all of the radicals who teach people that immigration is the one type of law that rioters are allowed to interfere with. She brought it upon herself, and all you lefties aided and abetted and made it happen. His comments echo assertions President Trump and other administration officials have made in the aftermath of the shooting. DHS Secretary Kristi Noem, at a press conference Wednesday, said the victim, 37-year-old Renee Nicole Good, was attempting to use her car as a weapon against the ICE official. The explanation prompted a fiery response from Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey, who's Democrat, who called the claims bullshit and argued the woman's death was the result of a, quote, an agent recklessly using power. Frey added that ICE needed to get the fuck out of our city, as I mentioned. Some Democrats are also now calling for the immigration officer involved in the shooting to face legal action, and Walz has the Minnesota National Guard on standby as protests arise. Of course, that's not going to happen because, well, if you want to charge, because the police officer could be charged under state law, they have to be able to investigate. And while the FBI, Kristi Noem, has declared that the FBI will be taking care of that entirely, and that no local law enforcement or state law enforcement, if there is some, should be involved because they have no jurisdiction. So the people who have rushed to the microphone to claim that the person who got killed is a terrorist, in order to defend the fact that they actually had ICE agents deployed there in the first place when it wasn't needed, are going to handle the investigation themselves, thus making it impossible for the state or local law enforcement to do their own investigation. Or, I mean, they can certainly do an investigation, interview eyewitnesses and whatnot, but they won't be able to have any physical evidence whatsoever. So that they could make sure that whomever this officer is never sees a microphone, a camera, or a courtroom, and that their account can be challenged. And then the challenge of that account and whatever verdict comes from that can then be used against the government. This is a whole lot of stagecraft going on. And if ever that guy does see a camera and a microphone, it is going to be to express full support for the administration, of course, and to also reinforce the narrative that she's a terrorist. It's like that. I remember seeing a movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger when I was younger called, I think it was The Running Man. You know, where he was some type of law enforcement or whatnot, or maybe military, and they had generated a clip that made it look like he had given an order to shoot on people. And then they managed to find somehow the central cub and whatnot. This is what's going on right now. I remember that movie because Richard Dawson, who was the host of the Family Feud, was brought in there, and again, to play the role of a TV game show host in a dystopian future. He was really, really, really good in the role too, which was kind of odd because he was playing a bad guy, and Richard Dawson was known to be a sweetie. I hope I'm not saying that, and somewhere along the way there were some accounts that happened afterwards that that I've missed that changed that impression. But at the time, very, very beloved, friendly, and nice guy with a self-effacing sense of humor. So him like playing a version of himself, but that had a very, very dark edge. But I'm getting all the feelings from that movie, The Running Man. And I wasn't very much into dystopia or sci-fi or that type of stuff, or even like hardcore action movies at that time, that age. And I really liked that movie, and I guess it really was because of that underlying narrative there that caught me. But if you haven't seen the movie, take a look at it. You'll see some very similarities, and it's just really weird. I don't know if you're ever getting that feeling if you were somewhere in your mid 40s, maybe to your mid 60s, watching this. There's a lot of movies we saw when we were younger that were really, really good yarns that seem to be coming true these days. I'm very uncomfortable. Oh boy. Some Democrats are also now calling for the immigration officer involved in the shooting to face legal action, and Walz has the Minnesota National Guard on standby as protests arise. The incident came just days after the Trump administration deployed more ICE officers to the city amidst the president's crackdown on legal immigration. And hopefully I can get some of the quotes from the press conference that J.D. Vance held. It's very weird. Very weird. He did, apparently there's an article here that says that he interrupted Fox News to accuse CNN of throwing him off his game at one point. Boy. But yeah, blaming the victim for what happened to her. She didn't have the gun. She didn't shoot. It would, again, if she was trying to hit people, she didn't seem very committed to it. According to The Independent in the UK, Andrew Feinberg, their Washington, D.C. correspondent. An irate Vice President J.D. Vance lashed out at reporters at White House press briefing as he defended the Trump administration's defense of an Immigration and Customs Enforcement officer who shot and killed a woman in Minneapolis one day earlier, despite an ongoing investigation into the shooting by federal investigators. Now, we don't need the results of an investigation. We can tell you she was guilty. Just trust us. Vance's appearance in the White House briefing room Thursday was ostensibly to announce the creation of a new Associate Attorney General position charged with investigating fraudulent abuse of federal benefits of the kind that has rocked the Minnesota state government in recent weeks and forced Governor Tim Walz to drop his bid for a third term. Oh, okay. So it's not only that he's just had enough of the right-wing stuff, there seems to be some events going on in Minnesota. But the vice president quickly pivoted to complaining about press coverage of yesterday's shooting of Renee Good, a 37-year-old mother of three, after her vehicle blocked a street during an active ICE operation. Vance began grousing about how media reports over the last 24 hours had quoted prominent Democrats, including Waltz and Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey, who described the shooting as murder or questioned whether the shooting was justified by showing or analyzing video footage calling into question whether Good had accelerated her car at the ICE officer, later identified as Jonathan Ross, who fired the fatal shots into her. Quote, the way that the media, by and large, has reported the story has been an absolute disgrace. They need a new word other than disgrace. They say that one a lot. And it puts our law enforcement officers at risk every single day, he said. Or maybe you're the ones that are putting the law enforcement officers at risk every day by putting them in situations, manufacturing chaos where there isn't any, and then creating situations where at some point someone may snap or someone may pull a weapon. You are the ones that are multiplying encounters between law enforcement and American citizens, and then blaming the citizens when something bad happens. The law enforcement officers are not put at risk because people have come to protest or demonstrate your administration. The law enforcement officers are being put at risk because you, the administration, are multiplying encounters between law enforcement and citizens and allowing law enforcement to behave in a completely abhorrent ways. The fatal shooting occurred on a street in Minneapolis Wednesday morning when numerous immigration officers were present following a recent influx of federal agents to the city. Video of the incident shows an ICE officer confronting Good in her car before firing several shots into the vehicle as it started to move. Officials from the Trump administration described the shooting as an act of self-defense and alleged that Good had engaged, quote, in domestic terrorism. In contrast, Frey condemned the agents' actions as reckless and called on the federal immigration authorities to withdraw from the city. But Trump administration officials, including the president himself, have blamed Good for her own death by accusing her of having deliberately attempting to run the officer over with her Honda Pilot. Vance went further than that by accusing the deceased, without offering evidence, of being in Minneapolis, quote, to interfere with a legitimate law enforcement operation in the United States of America, and calling her part of what he described as a, quote, broader left-wing network to attack, to dox, to assault, and to make it impossible for our ICE officers to do their job. The ICE officers are not doing their job. They are just following orders, which they should not be, because these are not appropriate orders. If the media wants to tell the truth, they ought to tell the truth that a group of left-wing radicals have been working tirelessly, sometimes using domestic terror techniques to try to make it impossible for the President of the United States to do what the American people elected him to do, which is enforce our immigration laws, Vance said. Report only what we tell you. Report only what we tell you. Look deep into my eyes. Report only what we tell you. Only what we tell you. Only we have the truth. Report only what we tell you. Seriously. He continued shouting as he accused, you people, because everything that follows you people is always cringeworthy. You people in the media, of lying about this attack, while again stating that Good had been trying to ram the officer who shot her. He shot back. He defended himself. He's already been seriously wounded in law enforcement operations before, and everybody who has been repeating the lie that this is some innocent woman who was out for a drive in Minneapolis when a law enforcement officer shot at her, you should be ashamed of yourselves. Vance did not offer any evidence to support his assertions that Good was part of the left-wing network he accused her of participating in, and when pressed by reporters to back up his claims, he said the identities of those in that alleged network were one of the things we're going to have to figure out. It's the left. We know it's the left. We don't know exactly who did it whatsoever. We need to find that out, but it's the left. Of course, the logical thing is, well, if you don't know who did it, how do you know that they're left? But it's the left. Just blame the left. At the same time, he continued to suggest that the protests that have sprung up around the administration's heavy-handed immigration enforcement operations are not organic and are instead organized by a nebulous organization that provides miscreants with the means to commit violence. He asked, when somebody throws a brick at an ICE agent or somebody tries to run over an ICE agent, who paid for the brick and who told the protesters to show up and engage in violent activity against our law enforcement officers? Oh my God, can we talk about January 6th and who told them to show up? It's not only that irony has died, it's irony has died, and then they administered CPR to it to revive it, just to have the pleasure of choking it out again. Vance's rhetorical question appeared to be based on a years-old and debunked right-wing conspiracy theory that came during protests in Minneapolis and other cities following the murder of George Floyd by a Minneapolis police officer in 2020. At the time, pro-Trump social media personalities claimed that pallets of bricks found on the street were purchased by unknown parties and placed for rioters to throw at law enforcement. But multiple fact-checking organizations found at the time that the bricks had been purchased for nearby construction projects and staged there for use by workers. Of course. Because when you are determined to see a boogeyman around every corner or behind every tree, then a pile of bricks that is there for a construction project becomes a pile of bricks that some nebulous organization financed and placed there in the middle of the night so that people can pick up the bricks and then hurl them at law enforcement. Of course, there are video cameras everywhere, and I'm sure that there's some video footage of the bricks actually being put there by the construction company that came. And of course, there was never any investigation, I guess, of the owners of the construction. But hey, just say it is, and we'll take care of the rest. When asked specifically whether the administration had any evidence in hand to support his claim that Good was part of an organized network of leftists aimed at undermining or harming ICE operations, Vance said both DHS and the FBI were in the process of investigating the shooting itself, but immediately resumed offering his own conclusions. Do you have any evidence? We're investigating for that, but I'm telling you, this is what it is. For sure, absolutely. I can't be wrong. And you need to report that. And if you report anything other than that, then you're helping these lefties. And shame on you. This is not normal. This is not normal. So, when asked if he had any evidence, Vance said both the DHS and FBI were in the process of investigating the shooting itself, but immediately resumed offering his own conclusions that Good, quote, was trying to obstruct a legitimate law enforcement operation and aimed her car at a law enforcement officer and pressed on the accelerator. I can believe that her death is a tragedy while also recognizing that it's a tragedy of our own making, a tragedy of the far left who has marshaled an entire movement, a lunatic fringe against our law enforcement officers. I think what is clearly happening here, and of course you have to say clearly and say it with a loud voice while screaming and yelling and berating, because that's how true it is, rather than it's how worried you are that you done gone and fucked up. Despite the vice president's assertions, video footage from bystanders at the scene do not support the allegation that Good was attempting to hit the agent, according to an analysis by the New York Times. Good's ex-husband also told the Associated Press that she was in the area where ICE had been operating while driving home after dropping her 6-year-old son off at school earlier in the day. And what the hell is ICE doing near schools with weapons? One would ask, or might ask. All right. Kids and cubs. Very briefly, a couple of other topics that I wanted to bring up before I have to go for the morning. But today is the day, of course, that Chrystia Freeland is going to officially resign from her seat from the House of Commons to then go on to the next phase of her life, where she will be the head of the Rhodes Trust and, of course, be an economic development advisor to President Volodymyr Zelensky. which is not going to be a full-time gig. It's going to be an occasional thing where she pops in and out and provides some advice as needed. But that is indeed happening today. Again, pretty much pushed out by optics. In this case here, Kids and Cubs, with everything that happened with Chrystia Freeland, we just got a good lesson in ethics versus optics. What she was doing, at least according to the ethics commissioner with whom she had been in contact, and not just once, but throughout a whole bunch of things, and everything was cleared. What she was doing was ethical, but the optics could be picked up like a football and torqued in order to make her look bad. And that's what the Conservatives and the NDP camps did with glee. So we've just seen what ethics versus optics looks like. We got a lesson in that, but we also got a lesson that in the battle of ethics versus optics, optics has an incredibly large advantage. So again, not everything that is ethical looks good. And yeah, it can create a bit of an issue. We have a bit of news that the Prime Minister and the Premiers are going to have a face-to-face meeting. I believe it is on January 29th in Ottawa, probably to discuss a lot of things, probably to also get a debrief of what the Prime Minister may or may not have concluded with the leaders of China after his visit there from the 13th to the 17th. But that is taking place, and that will be a particularly important meeting, in addition to the fact that, of course, everything with regard to CUSMA is going to start intensifying with regard to the review. So according to Catherine Tunney and David Cochrane of CBC News, it says here that the Prime Minister Mark Carney will meet with the premiers in Ottawa later this month, the start of a busy year where the mandatory review of the Canada-US-Mexico agreement kicks into high gear. Carney will hold the First Ministers' meeting on January 29th and will host a dinner the night before, according to sources with knowledge of the plans who were not authorized to speak publicly. The Prime Minister and the Premiers have been meeting periodically, often virtually, over the last year in the shadow of US President Donald Trump's trade war. Trump's tariffs continue to punish Canadian sectors, including the steel, aluminium, and auto industries, and spur economic uncertainty. Those talks are expected to intensify this year with the CUSMA review in full swing. Trump's point person on trade has already laid out a series of conditions the administration would like to see in order to extend the trading pact for another 16 years after the 2036 expiration. Of course, that list of things is only things that they want. They have not put any list of things that they were willing to give, because apparently we are now live in a world where we take if we're the United States and give nothing. In December, U.S. Trade Representative Jamieson Greer told Congress that CUSMA has been successful to a certain degree, that was a quote, but there needs to be changes before Trump agrees to extend it. Greer pointed to persistent trade irritants for the U.S. administration, including Canada's dairy quota system and its online streaming law, which impacts tech giants like Netflix, Spotify, YouTube, and the ongoing boycotts in some provinces of U.S. alcohol. Carney's meeting with the premiers falls just days after Parliament returns. It also comes on the heels of Carney's trip to China, where trade, energy, agriculture, and international security will be on the table. In addition to all of that, it also comes on the first day of the Conservative Convention in Calgary, during which Poilievre's leadership review will be taking place. Not sure if the timing on that is entirely coincidental. With regard to Doug Ford, two things. Apparently, he is, because he has not been doing much and needs to overcompensate and needs to distract from the judicial decision that made it such that he does have to hand over his phone logs. Of course, a decision he tried to prevent happening by stating You cannot ask me to go through all of this stuff to sift through my personal calls and my private calls. That would be just too much work that will get in the way of me governing 59 days a year or something. And if you order me to do that, that will open the door to suggestion, speculation, innuendo, and gossip, and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, and whose fault is that? You're the one who decided to mix your personal phone calls with your private phone calls. In fact, you're the one who decided to just not use the phone that was issued to you specifically to do government business and put it all pretty much on your personal. So you can't make that type of decision and then complain. You cannot create a situation that is going to bring about speculation, gossip, and innuendo, and then complain when somebody has told you you did something wrong. But if you investigate that, that will bring about speculation, gossip, and innuendo. Yeah. So maybe you should have made better choices. So in order to compensate for that, Doug Ford has gone on the attack again against Crown Royal, which is really, really stupid, showing he's not a team player and that he will throw everybody under the bus in order to basically save himself, because there was a plant, I believe a bottling plant in Amherstburg, I believe it is, which is just south of Windsor, which has relocated its bottling activities to the United States to serve the US market. But most of the product is made out of Gimli, Manitoba, and there are workers there who make that. And I believe that there's another place in Quebec as well, if I'm not mistaken, that Doug Ford, that Crown Royal is also has some activities. And Doug Ford, of course, because the LCBO is the largest single purchaser of spirits in all of North America, wants to claim that he is going to not carry Crown Royal on Ontario shelves, which would put at risk those jobs in Gimli, Manitoba, and those jobs in Quebec. And he's saying it because, he will do everything in his power to protect Ontario jobs. If doing everything in your power is not putting Crown Royal on Ontario shelves, you were re-elected a while ago, sir, on a platform of protecting Ontario. And we're wondering when you're going to start, because right now you're taking a move against fellow Canadians. Here, it says here, according to Radio Canada, CBC, a federal Conservative member of Parliament from Manitoba says Ontario Premier Doug Ford didn't have, quote, all the facts in front of him when he doubled down on threats to pull Crown Royal off shelves. Now, when he poured that bottle out the first time, it was September. Yes. We're in January now. He could have made that decision to pull Crown Royal off the shelves anytime if it was so crucial to protect Ontario. But now he's got an inconvenient Supreme Court case with Ontario Place, and he's got those phone records things. So now it's time to protect Ontario. Looks more like he's trying to protect his own backside. Ms. MP James Bazan, who represents the Selkirk Interlake Eastman riding north of Winnipeg, where the whiskey is distilled, posted a statement directed at Ford on Twitter after the Premier once again said he would remove Crown Royal from Liquor Control Board of Ontario listings. Quote, I had to present some of those facts that Crown Royal is proudly made in Manitoba. It's Canada's #1 export spirit. I just think the Premier is misinformed, and hopefully that he's going to change his mind if he has all the proper information in front of him. He won't, because it's not about having the proper information or doing something that's right. It's about saving his own ass. And he has found his sacrifice. He's found the virgin that he is going to throw into the volcano to please the gods. Crown Royal is distilled in Diageo's plant in Gimli, Manitoba, but UK-based Diageo, which owns Crown Royal brand, announced last year it was closing down the factory that bottles the whiskey in Amherstburg, Ontario, prompting Ford's threat to take the liquor off Ontario shelves. That Ontario plant was listed for sale in late December. A majority of the roughly 160 workers there ratified a closure agreement with the plant in November. On Monday, Ford said he will make good on his promise to pull Crown Royal off LCBO shelves as soon as Diageo closes the plant in February, saying the company will eventually shift those jobs to the US. The company has previously said it will continue to maintain a significant footprint in Canada. After the Ontario plant's closure, it said Thursday that whiskey destined for Canadian and non-US markets will continue to be bottled in its plant in Valleyfield, Quebec. There we go. Bottling volume from its Amherst plant will shift there, it said. My good friend, Manitoba Premier Wab Canoe, I love the guy, by the way. You know they're doing a little production here in Quebec too, said Ford. But it's all a bunch of BS. It's all going to Alabama. Mark my words. How about we don't? Bazan said if Ford follows through, he, quote, shouldn't be surprised if Manitoba retaliates, saying the local target would be Ontario wine. We're supposed to be working together, premiers. Somebody needs to give them, line them all up and just boom, 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 smack across the head. Smarten up, as we say in French, in taloche. It's just, yeah. Remember, there was a T-shirt we had back in the day said "La taloche, servez-vous-en." Smack upside the head. Use it. A Manitoba liquor and lottery spokesperson said Thursday VQA Ontario wine sales in Manitoba have ranged between 2.6 million and 3.2 million annually over the past 3 years. Of course, kids and cubs, let me reiterate here, coming back to my previous comment, that I mean, of course, a figurative smack upside the head. We do not condone violence, but yes, a political wake-up call that would be the equivalent of a smack upside the head would be good here. Manitoba Economic Development Minister Jamie Moses said in a statement that buying Crown Royal supports jobs in the province and that now is the time to support Canadian workers and products. The rural municipality of Gimli said in a statement the company's commitment to its operations in the country remains strong and that the distillery, which opened in 1968, continues to support the local economy and jobs. Derek Johnson, the member of the Legislative Assembly for Manitoba's Interlake Gimli riding, said Crown Royal provides a livelihood for the rural community. I don't think Canadians should be turning against one another, the opposition Progressive Conservative MLA said. That's especially true in these uncertain times that we've been having with our friends and neighbors to the south. More so neighbors than friends lately, he said. But we don't want to have that same issue start between provinces. Barry Prentice, a professor with the University of Manitoba's Asper School of Business, said Ford's justification for the move, quote, doesn't make a whole lot of sense in the context of the trade war with the U.S. Crown Royal is a Canadian product and will remain so, even if bottling does move south of the border, Prentice said. Who's he actually hurting by doing all of this, he asked. I think Ford's on the wrong side of this one, and I think he will reverse himself. I don't think he wants an interprovincial trade battle, which essentially this is. As well, kits and cubs, with the Prime Minister getting, managing or preparing to go to China, Doug Ford has come out with a lot of bluster, saying, "Don't you dare! Pretty much, don't you do anything to remove tariffs on Chinese EV vehicles." Of course, the premiers of Alberta and Saskatchewan, particularly Saskatchewan, are asking for that because of the 100% tariffs on canola and various agricultural products that China slapped on in retaliation for us slapping 100% tariffs on EVs. And we did that to support the U.S. when, under Biden, we thought that the United States might be our friend, but is not, clearly. But Doug Ford, because the auto industry is very much impacted, and of course, if we allowed EVs that were made abroad to be sold here, would displace a lot because in China they can make them for a whole lot less. That would displace a lot of Canadian product, and certainly before we've had a time to fully adjust ourselves to what we're going to do to respond to the United States. So yeah, Doug Ford has urged the Prime Minister to stand firm when he travels to China and keep the steep tariffs on its electrical vehicles in place. But then Ford stated, "We can't back down. Simple as that," said during a news conference. If they want to come and open a, but then he said, if they want to come and open a big manufacturing facility and employ uniform employers, well, let's talk. So here we have Doug Ford again. I'm going to protect Ontario. I'm going to protect Ontario jobs. Mark Carney, don't you dare bend at all on EVs. But hey, if China wants to come over here and build some of those EVs, then let's talk. Well, isn't that something that we mentioned on the show quite a while ago? That maybe there's a possibility for that. Just importing them, straight importing them and selling them, probably no. But if they were willing to build a plant here and manufacture them here, maybe. So Doug Ford, while pretending, cosplaying tough guy on Crown Royal and on EVs, is actually opening the door for the potential of EV models from China being sold in Canada if they are manufactured and built in Ontario. With all the potential fear and trepidation increased dealing with China can, of course, then bring. So yeah, Kits and Cubs, that's our show for this morning. We hope that you loved listening to us because we love making this for you. Remember, sharing is caring and word of mouth is priceless. So please tell your peeps and poops all about us. We really love it when you do, especially when you share why it is our content resonates with you. Kits and Cubs, if you do not, if sometimes you can't watch live, we do, not currently at the moment, but we'll soon hope have them back online, have audio podcast versions of our show. And you can find that at our pod page. That's podpage.com/the true North Eager Beaver with a hyphen between each one of those words, sponsored by the Ray Girl, of course. And I'm told that our video versions are there. So you can see them there, but you can also see those on our YouTube channel. And hopefully we will have some podcasts for you soon. If everything goes well, I should be learning from Mr. Grizzly on Saturday how to do it, and hopefully I can get on it when I get back home to the Ottawa Beaver Lodge and download all the software and all the kind of stuff that I need, or purchase it, or whatever it is that I need to do that. Then, Kits and Cubs, if you would like to help us, you can do that in two ways. One of the ways is by going down to the True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated YouTube page. Kits, Cassie, and Lane would certainly approve. And you can smash with our buttons, like, share, and subscribe, because it helps us with the algorithm when you do, and helps our numbers go up. And I'm sure that you probably hear the sirens out there from outside. Or maybe not. Maybe this mic is just so good. And of course, Kits and Cubs, if you would like to support us in other ways, we incur some costs to bring the show to you. As you know, we now have Restream on our own. So that was a cost. That was a big bite, and we could certainly use your help with that if you are so inclined and you believe that what we do deserves your support. So if you would like to do that, you can go to our coffee page and you can scan that QR code to bring you there. That's coffee.com/eagerbeaver, all in one word. And you can make your donation that way if you would like. And if you are doing the Buy Canadian thing, truenortheagerbeaver@gmail.com is our email address. You can send us a direct bank transfer. That way the CE Tech Bros in the States do not get a share of your donation. That comes to us, and you will get more beaver for your buck. Beavers and bucks, beavers and bucks. And grizzly bears. And otters and wolves. all the critters are there. So we definitely would appreciate your support. Thank you so very much. truenortheagerbeaver@gmail.com is also the email address you can use to send us your thoughts about what you think about the show, guest suggestions, some articles that you think we should read, photos of what it is that you are cooking with the hashtag #KitsWhoCook, especially if you're using the socials. Show us all that, or just share some good news that you have, and because we love sharing in your joy. So thank you so much for that as well. Because democracy is something that you do, Kits and Cubs, we have those two petitions. I don't remember the number of the second one off the top of my head, but 6821, E6821, is to encourage our MPs to table some legislation that would make it such that Canadian media foreign ownership laws would be changed so that media should be owned by Canadians for the benefit of Canadians. So please go and sign that. There's another petition out there to encourage the government to invoke Section 90 of our Constitution, the disallowance clause, in order to counter that which Danielle Smith and Premier Scott Moe are doing to trans kids. And that also is waiting for your signature. Unfortunately, I don't know the number of that one off the top of my head here at the Ottawa Beaver Lodge. And of course, if you are living in Prince Edward Island on the 7th, I believe it is, of February, there will be a vote for the new leader of the Progressive Conservative Party there So if you're on PEI, make sure to buy your memberships in time so that you have the opportunity to vote. Words of wisdom. Check in with your dentist regularly and brush your teeth. That's what I'm going to do. Working to keep this nice and white and shiny so that it comes across well on camera. Let's put it that way. All right, it could be a tough world out there, kids and cubs, so please be kind to and gentle with yourselves. I have to put on my winter gear and make my way to the dentist, so I will not be coming back with an Easter egg today. So, amour et bisous. Mhm. And do stay tuned because if Mr. Grizzly does do his later show, his weekly roundup, who knows, he might have a certain beaver pop in to say hello, and we'll be able to spend a little more time together. Okay? So, kids and cubs, at the count of 3, may I please hear you say, Mr. Beaver, please cue that cock. In 1, 2, and 3. Let me hear it. Oh, yes, that is the good stuff right there. I cannot deny my damn them, especially when they ask so nicely. You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. CanadianTarot.com, their uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and The Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. We are grateful to the Crier Media Network for its support, Pete Jarvis for our artwork, and Paul Joseph Something for our opening and closing sequence music.